is what they.
What happened to him?
I don't know. He was having problems with his sound.
He sure is having his sound. He's having a lot of problems.
And so maybe now he lost his so let's move on. While he's off, I can say, commissioners, we do have a quorum now. Commissioners Washington and Commissioner Fletcher joined us. Commissioner Fletcher's having a little technical problem, but he is on board and participating in the meeting. So we can go back up to the top of the agenda now.
He's back
okay.
on.
Yeah,
okay.
I apologize. For some reason, it kicked me out. But
Right.
the long and short of it is, when you call into OUC, OUC can only put into the computer system, or what they call the CAD system, what they call verified addresses. So if you say like the rear alley of 405 Sheridan, they can put 405 Sheridan in, but it depends on the person who takes the information to type in rear alley. And then they pass that information to the dispatcher, who passes it to us. So I don't know what specifically the Office of Unified Communications passed on, but it's happened a couple of times where they've given us like your address and you're actually the witness. So the only suggestion I can recommend is, when you're talking to the call takers, give them as much information as possible. And if you do not want to be contacted, let them know, or let them know specifically, I don't want to be contacted by uniformed officers, and they can put in there, that way a detective can contact you that information.
Well, let me just say that when they asked me on the phone, on the 911, they asked me, did I see anything? I said, no, I did not open my door when I'm hearing gunshots. But you know, I could kind of tell them that as best as I could determine where that it wasn't near my house, but it sounded, like I said, somewhere west of me. And you know, and I tried to be as specific as I could be under those circumstances. So yeah, if there's a breakdown that way, then you know, there's all this talk about police training, but then communications being so key, the Office of Unified Communication needs to get it right as well.
All right. Thank you, Lieutenant Shout, for following up on that issue. Did you have any other things that you wanted to discuss?
We can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? I don't know why I
Yes.
keep getting bounced out. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's the Wi-Fi or what, but again, if you have any specific questions, patrick.shout@dc.gov, Captain John.terry@dc.gov, or Cullen, Joseph Cullen@dc.gov. If Officer Hamrick's here, I will make sure he gets that information to you, or you can request it and they will send the information so you can post it, so people can ask us specific questions and they have our contact information.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Shout. We appreciate your report. As I stated earlier, we have a quorum now, so we'll move back up to the top of the agenda. We'll formally open the meeting. Commissioner Lucio, confirm that we have a quorum, please.
Yes, we do. Commissioner
Okay.
Washington,
Here.
Commissioner Rojas.
Here.
I know I saw Commissioner Fletcher's here, I'm here, and Chairman Edwards.
Okay. All right.
Commissioner McDuffie sent an email that he wasn't going to be able to attend.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we did. We mentioned that earlier.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So before we get the meeting started, and I know most of you probably already know, but we lost a longtime community activist and worker in our ward.
I'm sorry, and Commissioner Holloway is on as well.
She worked really hard with us when we were fighting the liquor store there on South Dakota Avenue. Miss Rose Smith passed and had her funeral a couple of weeks ago. So I just like a couple of days ago, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence on her behalf, if you all could, if we just pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. Well, and from there, we move on to some more exciting news. Today is a very special day for ANC 5A. It seems we have two commissioners that have birthdays today, Commissioner Lucio and Commissioner McDuffie. So I'd like to take a moment to say happy birthday to them.
Thank you. So as a birthday present, we're going to move this meeting along, right?
That's right. I'm all for that.
Great, thank you.
First item on the agenda will be, we do not have minutes for the March meeting yet. You know, Commissioner Lucio was not here, and the rest of us didn't do our due diligence in terms of making sure we follow up and help her to get those done. So we will make sure we work with her between now and the next meeting to get those minutes taken care of.
I do believe we need to accept the agenda. We haven't done
Okay.
that.
And commissioners, you have the agenda before you. We've already had the police chief give his presentation. Are there any changes, any unreadiness about this agenda?
There is one change. It came after I had sent it out to you, so I wasn't able to change it on the agenda, but from the mayor's office, it is going to be Chief Conti instead of Director Perdomo talking about the budget.
Okay, from the mayor's office.
Yeah, Chief Conti representing the mayor's office to discuss about the budget. And I just got a call from our Moker who said that he's trying to get on, so he should be on.
I saw Nokomis a little while ago. He's on.
Yeah.
Mr. Edwards, I'm on.
Yes, sir.
Chief Conti, how you doing?
Thank you, Chief.
Right.
So yes, he's here representing the mayor's office for the budget report when we get to that point.
All right. And if you would, commissioners, now that I see now that that's the way this is laid out, I would, let's see, so we have we approved the agenda and the second quarter financial report.
Well, we didn't actually approve the agenda yet. We were making changes to it. We didn't do a vote on that yet.
Okay. So with the change, adding Chief Conti to the agenda, was there anything further?
No.
All right, then what's your pleasure on the agenda?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented with the change about Chief Conti.
I second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the agenda be adopted with a noted change. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, let the record reflect the vote was unanimous. All right, we move now to the second quarter financial report. The Commissioner Washington.
Commissioners, I emailed the second quarter report to everyone on yesterday. I hope everyone's had an opportunity to look at it. If not, Commissioner Lucio has it up on the screen. We had a balance forward of $41,664.02 from the first quarter ending in December 21. We received two allotments totaling $10,860.56, which gave us an available funding at the beginning of the quarter of $52,524.58. Our expenditures for the second quarter were very low because, we couldn't purchase or make any decisions or any financial moves until we had been approved with our ANC security fund, which was approved on February 16th. So our expenditures for that month were $1,343.23 in item number 3 for distribution communications. And then other bank charges was $9 and other, which is the $25 for the security fund, for a total of $1,377.23, which leaves us a balance at the end of this second quarter, $51,147.35. I hope everyone's had the opportunity to look at it, and I'd like to put a motion out that we accept the ANC 5A's second quarter financial report as presented.
I'll second the motion.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded that the ANC 5A second quarter financial report be accepted. There are any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, let the record reflect the vote was unanimous.
Commissioner, Chairman Edwards, hopefully before we end tonight, I'd like for us as commissioners to discuss some things that need to be purchased, which were probably already considered in the budget, but I'd like to be a little bit more specific on some of the things that I think we need to do for our neighbors in 5A, particularly the dog signs and maybe putting out or purchasing the dog poles where we can have bags for individuals. So hopefully we as commissioners, either we'll do it at executive meeting or we can do it later in this meeting, because I think we need to move forward with that, considering the weather's changing and a lot of individuals who have pets and have been complaining about people not cleaning up their poop.
And there was a discussion earlier concerning some additional supplies or equipment or something for our second office, right? What happened with that?
The second office now is being occupied by Ward 5 Mutual.
Right.
They're
But
using it.
okay, I guess Commissioner Fletcher's not here, but I thought I heard him. Well, he's here, but he's not
Right.
probably.
Yeah, I mean, if that be the case, I mean, we can look at that as well.
All right.
Actually, we have some things in our office that probably the office that we occupy that could be moved over to that office as well.
All right. So if we have additional time, then we'll add that to the end of the agenda. That's what you're saying?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Lucio, your two items on Taylor Street, are those presentations? Will they be, how long will they be?
They won't be long, and we have, we're all set to go in terms of supporting them from my end, so they shouldn't be too long.
All right, you have the floor then.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. I want to introduce you to the representatives from the two projects at 824 Taylor Street Northeast and 828 Taylor Street Northeast. We met with my single member district twice initially to discuss these projects before they were brought to BZA. At the first meeting, we discussed their design plans and asked the two projects to work together to make the buildings more cohesive, because there are 8 buildings in this row of projects, and I know a couple other ones are in the process of being sold or purchased. And my concern, as well as that of my constituents, was that we didn't want 8 different buildings being built on this site. We wanted some consistency among these projects. So we asked them very kindly to go back to the drawing board to work together. And thankfully, I'm very pleased to report that they did that. They did also meet with the 200 footers in 5B, and I do have the consent of Commissioner Costello from 5B05, who is also, in support of this project as her constituents are as well. So I am going to ask them to just briefly give you a presentation about their projects, but essentially what they are doing is they are raising the 2 buildings that are there now and going to be developing 2 new buildings with condos. So if we could start with 824, and if Charles, do I need to give you sharing permission?
It's probably the best. I can
Okay.
run through the BZA.
Okay, I'm going to make you a cook's house right now. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. So you're going to start with 824, correct?
Correct.
I do want to just comment that both properties are being represented by the same agency, but they've got different people working on them. So we have a little bit of overlap between the two. So go ahead, Charles.
Sure. Make sure the screen real quick. Hopefully everybody can see that. I just want to acknowledge Matt Scorzafava. He's representing the ownership on this project, and Marty Sullivan, who's land use counsel that is actually representing both properties on the project. So as Commissioner Lucio mentioned, we were at 824 Taylor. So at one point we were proposing a very different project back in the early part of this. And long story short, we've sort of been working with 828 Taylor, the owners on that side, to kind of create a very similar project in terms of zoning and massing, and really just the buildings themselves are very, very similar. I don't know how in-depth we need to get with this, Commissioner Lucio. I think we've kind of spent a lot of time with it, but.
Well, but some of these people weren't there. So if you could just briefly run through what you're doing, that would be helpful.
Sure. So this project is in the RA1 zone. So as part of that, we need to seek BZA special exception for any new apartment buildings. So these are technically new apartment buildings. So that's the only area of, it's not even relief, it's just a special exception that we need approval that we need to get. So that's why we're here. But just to give you the long and short of it, these are proposed 8-unit buildings. We are opting into inclusionary zoning. So each one of these projects will provide one affordable housing unit as part of the inclusionary zoning program. But that's the only other relief that we're seeking for the project, is to opt into IZ. And then all the other, we're complying with all the other zoning regulations for the district, or I'm sorry, for the zone. I'll just run you really quickly through the massing. So this is the Taylor Street elevation. Our building's on the left here. Let me close this real quick. 828's on the right. So they're very similar buildings in terms of height and massing, and there's some slight architectural differences between the two. We are proposing a bay element. They are proposing balconies, but that's really the main difference between the two. Some side elevations, you can see just sort of the massing of the building. This is the rear elevation. And then this is the Taylor Street here, our building 828, 4 Taylors on the left, 828 Taylors here. So you can see that there's a very similar massing between the two buildings. The scale's pretty much the same. The program is very identical. Both have 8-unit buildings, 2-bedroom apartments. For all of them, one of them is an inclusionary zoning unit. The bedrooms are roughly 900 square feet each. We are proposing a common entry, so we would walk up from Taylor Street between the two buildings, and then the front doors of the buildings are off of that sort of common courtyard between the two. And we've coordinated that with 828 initially, that they had the entry on the other side, and we paired them so we can enter through a common space. And this is the view from 824, or from Taylor Street, with a common stair to the common entry between the two buildings. This is just a view of the entry of 824 Taylor. You can probably run through the site plan really quickly. So 824 Taylor is the area in green. 828 Taylor is, you can see the buildings are almost identical in terms of massing and scale and how they sit on the site. And parking in the back, we are providing as much parking as we can. So each, from a zoning standpoint, we only need to provide 1 parking space, but we are proposing to put 4 in here. On our side, trash collection area off the alley in the back, and the common entry in the center here. And yeah,
Commissioner
pretty
Washington,
straightforward project.
I'm sorry, real quick. Commissioner Washington, is it okay if we run through both presentations and then answer questions, since the projects are somewhat of identical? Is that okay with you?
The only question I have is, I'm not familiar where it is. I'm just trying to place where this is on Taylor.
It's on,
Street.
I'm
Sure.
sorry, it's on
Yeah.
Taylor Street between Puerto Rico and 10th Street. So just as you come down the bridge that crosses over the track, it's literally on your left.
where there's a houses on one side of Taylor, and there's about 4 apartment buildings on the
Yep,
other.
that's
side.
it. That's
Mhm.
it.
So
It's
all
the
of those are going, all of those apartments are coming down.
Not all of them. These are 2 of them.
These are
And
two.
there's 2 more that are for sale right now that are being in the process of purchasing, but no plans currently to change them right now. But go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, well, I think that's about it. I'm happy to answer any questions, but it's a
Okay.
pretty straightforward project. and I
Okay,
can-
thank you. So what I'd like to do, actually, if we could, is if you want to stop sharing, let me, who is presenting on behalf of 828?
That would be me. If you could give me
Yep.
access.
Yep. Yep.
One sec.
Let me give you co-host permission. Okay, and then let's do yours and then we can go to questions. You should be able to share.
Can you give me access on another screen that I'm
On the other screen, I see. Yep. Okay. Are you good now?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. We, along with Michael Cross, are here to present our project at 828 Taylor Street. And as Charles already said, we are here because this is an RA1 zone, and it has a requirement that any new development or any development related to the expansion of existing structure needs to go through BZA and ANC review. So basically, we're applying for special exception under subtitle U 421.1. And as Charles said, these 2 buildings are very similar. We are also opting, providing an IZ unit, which is an affordable unit.
Think she's finished?
Now, one sec, sorry.
No.
So this project is located on Taylor Street, which is very close to the intersection of Taylor and 9th Streets Northeast. The total land area is about 5,800 square feet. And we are proposing about 36% lot occupancy, which is the building footprint, which is less than 40% allowed, with the remaining 64% to be used as green covers, window wells, parking, etc. The client is proposing to raise the existing semi-detached 4-unit structure and build a new construction, which is fully detached and has 8 2-bedroom units. This is the typical layout of the building, which has 2 units per level, 1 in front and 1 in rear. Since it is a fully detached structure, it would allow for improved quality of life. All units will be afforded with much increased natural light through large loft-style windows. Every unit would also have access to outdoor space, be it a private patio, balcony, or rooftop deck. And each unit is proposed to be of about 850 square feet. The project requires only 1 parking space. However, we are proposing 5 parking spaces, as you can see, including 1 which is ADA compliant. And the project is well connected to the public transport, with about half a mile to Red Line Metro and about the same to the nearest bus stop. In addition to the green cover on grade, we are proposing some green elements like green roof, and on-site stormwater management, which has a positive impact to the immediate neighborhood and to the broader environment. There is a dedicated trash space, which you can see in the site plan here, which will be screened towards the rear of the property, and trash will be collected by private service at intervals, which are set to meet the building demand. These are some 3D views from different sides of the building since it's fully detached. And the exterior is proposed to match the existing surrounding buildings, which is brick facade. We have previously worked with our SMDs. We presented to SMD 5803, which is what we're presenting right now, on January 20th. And then we presented to the 5B03, which is in front with Ms. Costello on February 8th. And we again presented again on 31st March. So we appreciate your time and welcome any questions that you may have.
I do want to add, thank you both very much. If you want to stop sharing, that'd be great. I do want to add that a couple of other things we talked about during the course of our meetings with the two projects were the fact that they are going to collaborate on the construction so that there is not overlap and traffic congestion in terms of the construction between the two projects, either in the alley or on the street. They also are going to coordinate timing in terms of the development. And then we also talked with them about coordinating in terms of the trash pickup. Some of the residents were concerned about there being two projects at the same time and the issues related to that. Could you please stop sharing your screen? Thanks. So those are some of the things we talked about. And as she mentioned, we did meet with my single member district, as I said, twice. The first one was on January 20th and the first time was on March 31st. And
having some issue.
And so at your two meetings, Commissioner Lucio, what was the recommendation and what recommendation do you have for us?
Yeah, so I understand that. And I see Commissioner Washington. So our SMD as well as Commissioner Costello's SMD both voted to support both of these projects as they are presented to you today. And I see Commissioner Washington has a question.
Yeah, the question I have, I mean, I've never seen these drawings before, and I don't recall them, discussing it in any other meeting that we had, but that's here or there. My concern is Taylor Street, how narrow the street is. But I wanted to also ask Commissioner Lucio, one of those buildings is right at the alley. Is one of the buildings they're doing right at the alley? No.
The one that comes out of the street? No.
Okay.
No.
So the alley that's there between where the apartments and the homeowners' backs are, that's not where the location is?
That's up one more building.
But it's up one more building.
Mm-hmm.
So that building is still going to remain on the corner of the alley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the other buildings are staying as of right now. These are the only two that are slated for reconstruction right now.
And there are 4 buildings there now, correctly?
Yep. And part of what we wanted to do, as I said, I have actually also reached out to all of the other owners of those buildings. I invited them to my single member district meeting. I asked these current project owners to talk with them about these buildings and see if they wanted to, if they were thinking about redesigning, if they wanted to collaborate with them. A couple of those owners did attend the single member district meeting, and one of them who will be the owner of 2 buildings. He owns one now and he's in the process of purchasing one. I believe he is on board with collaborating with these 2 to make sure that in the future, when he does decide to do a redesign, to make it similar so that we don't have 6 different buildings. And Uchenna, in answer to your question, the 2 buildings that they are that we are referring to, yes, are vacant.
There's no one in either one of the buildings?
No.
Okay.
Anything further?
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I see so many buildings going up all over the city, just being stuck in neighborhoods, asking for special exceptions to go up and beyond. And it's just interesting for me how the residents on 10th Street, were they involved in your meetings as it relates to those buildings going up and the height and things of that nature. I understand another single member district, but those are houses as well. But I was just a little concerned about that.
They were all invited to the meeting. We made sure
Mhm.
we made sure to send a notice to all of the different people in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
And one of the houses that's on that side was designated a historic house, historic, right on the corner, the house right on the corner there.
That's not,
where
it.
those-
I don't know which house that is. That's across the street, so that's in 5B.
No, it's in 5A, on the side where the apartment buildings are. There's one house at the end before you go over the bridge or before you turn to go on Puerto Rico Avenue.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a
There's a
historic.
house sitting right there.
Yeah,
And
I know which house
someone,
you're talking about.
yeah, so that's a historic preservation. Was that person involved in that? Because they purchased that house, yeah.
As I said,
Yeah.
everybody on the block was sent a notification of the meeting. So, but yes, and so, and
Right.
commissioners, you've all been sent the draft of the resolutions that's being requested.
Right, so Commissioner Lucio, what's your pleasure for these two?
I'm respectfully requesting that the ANC 5A support what ANC 5A03 has voted on to support these two projects.
And and to be just clear and specific about exactly what we're doing is we are voting, if we approve this recommendation, to support the special exception
Yes.
that is being requested here. That is and so is there a second on that motion? Can I get a second?
I think Commissioner Howell is
Okay,
trying
we
to
have a
talk.
second. Okay, the motion has been seconded. You ready for the question?
I have a question again.
Yes.
Can I have a question?
Yes.
What is the price that they're supposed to be selling these units for?
And along that same line, when you answer that question, there was a message in the chat. Explain a little bit more in detail the inclusionary zoning requirements and the whether this project, when you talk about affordable housing, you know, what percent of the AMI and so forth.
They said 80% of the AMI.
Okay.
That was in the chat, but I'd like to know what they're selling them for, and then also what would be the price for the one for the inclusionary zone unit.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that. Michael Cross, I'm the architect responsible for 828. My understanding is those are going to be 7 market rate units, and we'll have 1 inclusionary zoning unit. The market rate as defined will be at market. I don't know that information. The inclusionary zoning unit will be offered for sale at the price prescribed by DHCD. I apologize, I can't remember the acronym, for an 80% AMI unit.
You don't have any proposed amounts that you all can project that these units are going to be sold for? I mean, if we don't have anything, you could go for $1 million. I mean, you got to have something.
This is Matt from 824. I think what we spoke about at the single member district meetings is there's a property at 3934 10th Street Northeast, which recently sold or is in the process of selling. It's 6 units instead of 8, but those units sold anywhere between 480,000 and 590,000 looks like the highest. So some of these units on Taylor might have a little bit bigger spaces, so they may go for a little bit more than that, but that's the range that we're thinking based on the recent comps.
And that's for 824?
Yeah, I represent 824.
Okay, and 828?
And I'm Mark, I represent 828. The IZ unit, the prices are set every year, so we don't know what it's going to be when it sells. But right now, the price is for a 2-bedroom, $297,000, and our pricing is going to be set whatever the market is when we deliver about a year and a half, 2 years from now. And I'm right there with Matt on the pricing.
So we're looking at up to 600,000 or between a medium. However, how long is it supposed to take for the project to end? Because I do believe the project on 12th Street, we started out at 500,000 and it ended up going to 700,000 is what they end up selling for. So we're kind of looking at something similar to that because it took about 3 or 4 years for that to get started. So if your project going to take more than 2 years, or is it 3 years, or to have it completed?
The project will take 12 months max, I would say, since we get the permits. It's impossible to know when the permits will arrive.
Mhm.
All right, any further questions? All right, so we have a motion before us, and the motion is to approve the recommendations of 5A03 regarding this BZA application. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Did somebody say?
Commissioner Fletcher said in favor.
Okay, all right, and
And
opposed?
Aye.
Okay, abstentions.
Aye.
Okay, so
Aye.
who said aye?
That was Holloway. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor, and Commissioner Edwards, Chairman Edwards, do you have a vote on this?
Yes, I'll support it.
So we have 5 in favor and 1 abstention.
And 1 did not support. That's
Who
me.
did? Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
did.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
one-
So 4 in favor and 1 opposed and 1 abstention.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. Chief Conti, I
Sorry,
apologize.
real quick before we move on, Chairman Edwards. So you have in front of you the 2 letters, and so and I will trust that you'll get those to me to share.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Chief Conti, I want to apologize for taking so long to get to you, but you are the next one on the agenda, sir, and you have the floor.
Well, thank you so much, Commissioner. I promise to be brief, and I know the hour is drawing late. You guys obviously are discussing a lot of very important matters in 5A, and certainly the budget for the city is also very important. So I'd like to just kind of take this, the time that I have to really just kind of hit on some of the highlights of the mayor's budget. Right now, the budget that has been put forth to council is about 19.5 billion. That's billion with a B dollars. And what you can expect to see in the mayor's budget for this year is to focus on public safety, focus on housing, focus on roads, on young people through schools and facilities. And as we talk about the budget, again, the citywide budget, I think the thing people want to know a lot of times is, hey, how does this impact me? Like in the area where I live. I see Nokomis Demoker, he just placed in the chat some of the mayor's budget proposals, but specifically for Ward 5. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. When we think about the budget in the space of investments in housing and economic opportunities, $8 million to continue development at the McMillan site, $32 million for replacement of the New York Avenue shelter, $44 million to replace the single shelter for individuals experiencing homelessness, significant investments in education and communities, $11 million for the renovation of Langdon Elementary School to include the early childhood education seats, $71 million for the renovation of Burroughs Elementary School, $46.7 million for the renovation of Bunker Hill Elementary School, early childhood education as well, $10.3 million for the renovation of Langley Elementary School, $110 million for the renovation of Brown Education Campus. That's my junior high school that I attended. 19 million for the renovation of the Harry Thomas Recreation Center, 20 million for the Langdon Community Center redevelopment, 15 million to renovate and convert the Crummell School into a new community center, 14 million for the renovation of the DC Infrastructure Academy, 5 million for the renovation of the Ossie 5th Street School Bus Terminal. In addition to that, investments in transportation and environment have also been considered, 114 million to rehabilitate and reconstruct and maintain sidewalks, that's citywide, 102 million to bring alleys into a state of good repair through maintenance and reconstruction, 16.5 million for a new trail and bridge connecting my old community where I grew up, Carver Langston, and the National Arboretum to the Anacostia River Trail. So that's 16.5 million for that. 17 million for streetscape improvements and a new pedestrian and bicycle trail along New York Avenue in the Ivy City neighborhood, providing connections to the Metropolitan Branch Trail and the National Arboretum. 9.8 million to accelerate the S Street Northwest streetscape between 4th and 7th Streets for FY22. And lastly, 3.5 million to complete the relocation of Engine 26 fire station. There are a lot of things in the budget overall, and certainly I would encourage residents to take a look at the link that Nokomis put in the chat to really drill down into the budget. There are certain things in the budget that are of interest to some people, and certainly there are other things in the budget that may be of interest to other people. But I would just encourage you to look at that. Make sure that you are talking to your representatives about your feelings about the budget, whatever that happens to be. Certainly, I'm advocating in the space of public safety. There has been a request or an ask for a $30 million budget enhancement for the Metropolitan Police Department with respect to being able to recruit and retain the big piece. Those two things go hand in hand, police officers to our city. Some of you probably know, or at least have heard, that our police force right now, we are at number-wise, we are at just over 3,500 police officers. That is a significant reduction by comparison to where we were in January last year, when we were at about 3,800 police officers. To experience such a dramatic change or a dramatic reduction in force over a very short period of time, it is a very difficult thing to deal with. But nevertheless, we do the things that we need to do in the realm of public safety. But the mayor has been very clear about making sure that our police department is on a pathway to get to 4,000 police officers. And that will not happen for several years down the line. Essentially, what this budget will do in the space of public safety, specifically for the Metropolitan Police Department, it will enable us to hire over 300 police officers during that budget cycle. However, the net gain of police officers really equates to only about 36 more officers than where we are right now, taking in consideration the attrition that will happen. Every year we lose about 300 officers to retirement, resignation, and so forth. And right now we are in a very competitive market when you talk about law enforcement agencies, just really around the country, but specifically here in the DMV area, there are a lot of choices there. So again, I would encourage you to please kind of drill down into that budget. As I stated, I didn't intend to be before you long, but I did want to just highlight those things specific to Ward 5 in this 19.5 million citywide, 19.5 billion citywide budget. Those things that are just really kind of keyed in on Ward 5. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for the opportunity to just share a few highlights with the residents that are and the other commissioners that are on tonight. And if there's some some questions, obviously I can't answer all the questions about what's here. Certainly, I would encourage you to kind of read through it, but I may be able to help, or at least to make sure that we get back to you if there's something that I can't answer, Commissioner. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
All right, and thank you for that detailed report. Nokomis, thank you for helping to get him here. Chief Conti, you gave a good report. I think talked about a lot of things, and then talked about your primary focus, which was safety. So we kind of been hearing in the news, and I know these numbers that you're trying to get to, the 4,000 and the budget that was submitted to council. Seemed like there was some disagreement in that. And I'm just trying to get clarity as to the impact of the council actions on what was proposed, or is it all intact? Is there anything that we can do to support the police department funding in this area at this late stage?
So what the council has put forth is about $6 million less than what was proposed by the mayor, essentially cutting out or cutting down from what the mayor proposed housing incentive, take-home police car incentive, and there was one other incentive in the professional development tuition reimbursement. Some of the money for that was cut off. The take-home cars was about $2 million off of that, and then I think it was about $3 million or take-home cars were $2 million. Then it was about $1 million for the housing incentive, and the other part was for the education piece. And when the mayor talks about the budget, the thing that she is really focused on, and this is based on conversations that we have had, is that we have to present, when she talks about the whole package, she talks about the ability to recruit, but also the ability to retain. That is also a very important part. When we talk about the take-home cars, as an example, those are things that a lot of residents like to see in community, a presence of a police car, but it's also a retention piece and a recruitment piece for us, because when we look at our neighboring jurisdictions, for example, you don't have to go far, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Arlington County, the surrounding jurisdictions, the fact that police officers in those jurisdictions have take-home cars, that is the thing that attracts officers to apply to those departments. And it could very well be a deciding factor for a person who's trying to make a decision. If I could translate this to what we're seeing in the workforce right now, like where the space where you guys may work, if you have a job where you're offering a person 100% telework versus a company that's not offering 100% telework, a lot of times people are making those decisions. Well, hey, there's a better incentive for me to go over here for this company that's offering 100% telework for, whatever reason. The other piece is when you look at the people within our agency who are mid-career people, that might be an exciting incentive for a guy who's coming through the door. But what about a guy who's been here for 20 years, for 25 years? What are we doing in this space for those individuals who are in that 20 to 25 year space, right? Where they are kind of looking at retirement, but what are some things that might keep them around? So in that space, that's when we're talking about, what are the retention things that we want to do? So what are the educational opportunities for them? Can we pay off student loan debt or something as an incentive? The other thing is, I think I mentioned a housing allowance. I want police officers to live here in the District of Columbia. And right now, there's about 17% of the force that lives in the District of Columbia. When we're recruiting people from literally all around the country, we want them to come to our beautiful city. We want them to fall in love with the city, the same reason why we all live here in the city, and we want them to stay here. So one of the things that we want to do is offer a housing incentive where for the first year that an officer is, for the first 6 months, actually, they're in the police academy, but for the first year, we want to offer a housing incentive that will allow those members to experience our city the way that we do, right? The same reason why, if you were going to college or you moved here for school or whatever, you fell in love with Washington, D.C., and you decided to stay here. We want our police officers to have that same opportunity. And the one thing that we hear a lot of times, it's not affordable. This is not, you guys were just talking about affordable housing units. So we want our police officers to come here to have that opportunity to experience our city, to have a housing incentive as something that will attract police officers to our city. And then at the end of that period, at the end of that year, hopefully they're able to find affordable housing somewhere within the boundaries of the District of Columbia. So those are really the things that we're arguing. well, I won't even say arguing, but those are things that we're in disagreement about. The $6 million that's in that space, that's part of the recruitment and retention piece of that. You know, the council, what they have put forth, a signing bonus, some other things, but again, it's recruitment and retention. When we talk to them about signing bonuses, when I had talked about this during the budget hearing, you know, it's not uncommon in this law enforcement space where agencies, for example, Metro Transit Police nearby, you know, they're offering a $10,000 signing bonus. You have agencies in the counties that are around us that are offering signing bonuses. And you look at places like as far out as Oakland, California, where what has been proposed but not approved, you know, they were up to like $50,000. So, I mean, it runs the gamut, but everybody is working hard. When I say everybody, I mean law enforcement agencies really around the country are working very hard to try to recruit and retain. And in this space right now, it's a very difficult environment to do both of those things.
All right, thank you for that explanation. So let me ask you just so are you saying with the $6 million, these programs, the support programs that you have, you will not be able to do, or you will be able to have minimal impact?
It's minimal impact. So for example, when we talk about the housing, the housing incentive, as I'll use that as an example, right? The money that is being proposed, that's being sent forward to council, that might only allow us to service, you know, 45 new people. We're trying to hire 300, but if we're only able to, as a result of this incentive, you know, service 45 new people coming in, I'm just using that number, we're able to only service 45, then, you know, what about the other 300 people that get hired, right? They're like, we're advertising an incentive that we're not going to be able to deliver on, is really kind of the issue and concern in that space. And Commissioner, while I'm on it, somebody put in the chat about, isn't there already a housing incentive program for district government employees? There is a housing incentive program for district government employees who are looking to buy a house and some other things. And we want to work those programs really in tandem. A lot of times with our police officers, for example, we're hiring a class every month. For an officer to realistically be able to, you know, move to Washington, D.C., buy a house through a housing incentive program in the first couple of months of the police academy, you know, very unrealistic. But what is realistic is if an officer is moving here and he's going to rent an apartment in DC, and we're going to give him an incentive each month to help offset his rent or something like that, his or her rent, that would be an attractive incentive. And we know this based upon conversations that we've had with new recruits in the academy, people who have applied to our police department. What are some of the things that are really the deciding factor for them, whether or not they come here or go other places? And in this space, you know, that seems to be something that is very important to people who are applying to our agency.
Thank you. I see three hands raised here, and I'm going to take them in the order that I saw them go up. Commissioner Lucio, Commissioner Rojas, and Commissioner Washington.
Thank you. And thank you, Chief Conti, for presenting that on behalf of the mayor's office.
Sure.
I appreciate all the effort that she's making to have a budget that's you know, workable, and all the work that's going on with the city council. I did want to ask a question in relation to this issue with police living in the district, which I wholeheartedly support. But one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of police don't necessarily live in the area that they're working. And I think, you know, we've talked numerous times at this meeting with other members of your team about the importance of neighborhood policing and police presence and getting to know the neighborhood. And I think one thing that would benefit that is if the police actually were members of this community and lived in this community. So I wanted to ask what efforts are being made when police purchase in the district to try and place them. I realize they switch from time to time, but trying to at least initially place them in housing that is in the area where they're the district, the police district where they are assigned.
So it's in that space, we have not, you know, we obviously, you know, we want them to live anywhere in the city, you know, that like all of us, right? I mean, you live in the city where you feel like you can comfortably afford something that's supportive of whatever your family goals are. A lot of times when people are thinking about different neighborhoods in our city. They're thinking about what schools are in, you know, that boundary for where they live. All those things are taken into consideration. So for our police officers, we want them to have that same flexibility. You know, for officers who are, for example, who live in Ward 3, I mean, it's pretty expensive to live in Ward 3, and all officers who live in Ward 3 might not be able to afford to live in Ward 3. They may choose to live in Ward 5 or in Ward 7 for that matter. When I bought my first home living in the District of Columbia, my first home was in Ward 7 because that's what worked for my family. So we want our police officers, we want to be as flexible as we possibly can. Certainly the flexibility to choose what works for them, what works for their family in making those decisions. What I do think is that when officers have the opportunity to experience our city, I believe that they, like a lot of people, they fall in love with this city and they try to find a way that works out for them, that's easy for them to get to work. If you can, and we have officers who live in the districts where they work. That's also really tied to the take-home cruiser piece that we were talking about earlier. You know, that presence in community, when community members, know that Officer Smith lives on Taylor Street in the 800 block, they know when he's home, they know when he's not home, because that cruiser is a visible presence in community. And we want to build on that. And that's really kind of a long answer to your question, Commissioner, to say that, we don't direct where they can or cannot live. We give them that flexibility, but we want them to be able to we want them to be able to make that choice.
I understand. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Rojas.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Chief Conti, for coming on. And I just had a couple questions. It's mostly about the 4,000 officers target rate. So I know that you mentioned that around every year you guys lose around 300 officers to retirement and things like that. Is there what's the average net gain, I guess you could say, of officers? And then with the current budget, is there a target goal to get to 4,000? Or where would the funding need to be in order to get to that target?
So the budget right now will support us hiring the 347 officers for the next fiscal year. As I was mentioning, the net gain for that with the attrition is only going to be about 36. The problem, if I can kind of dial it back a little bit, the problem is we stopped hiring for 2 years. And when you stop hiring police officers and now you have to build the force back up, we experienced the same thing back in 2010. And I was against this, and a lot of other people were against this from the beginning, but nevertheless, we didn't hire. And now we are in a space where we are trying to catch the number up. So it will be at least 10 years before we get to 4,000 police officers, but we got to start somewhere. And it starts with the net gain of the 36 officers. And I should also add this, Commissioner, we're only asking for the budget for what we can responsibly hire in a year. I can't responsibly hire 600 police officers in a year or 500 police officers in a year. We can't do that. I mean, it's difficult right now just trying to compete with the surrounding jurisdictions, but with the 347, that puts us on the trail. And what we want to make sure that we do is slow the attrition down by making sure that we have strong programs in place to retain the officers that we have and simultaneously build a pipeline of people coming in by making sure that we have things in place that make our police department, that make our city attractive to those who are on the job hunt. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Washington.
Thank you again, Chief Conti, for coming out. It's
Yes,
wealth of
ma'am.
information, and I really appreciate it. And I don't know if you hit on this point or not, but I'm trying to find out, are the salaries of our police officers comparable to the surrounding jurisdictions?
So when you look at Washington, D.C., right now, when you assess our salaries, you have to assess them not just based on, and there's a city law about this. It just really kind of went into effect a couple of years ago. You have to assess our city based on cities of comparable size, based on cities that are comparable in terms of cost of living, et cetera, right? Because cost of living in DC, cost of living in Prince George's County, it's different. So the city that we compare most closest to is Seattle, Washington, right? And when you look at all the cities that they've done a study about this recently. When you look at all of the cities, like the 8 or 9 cities that they compared us to, we rank about number 8 or number 9 at the bottom of the list. If you look at just comparing to the surrounding jurisdictions, there's a false sense of, oh, well, their salary is comparable to, let's say, what you name the department, Prince George's County. I'll use them as an example. Oh, his salary is comparable to Prince George's County. Well, that's not really an apples to apples comparison. It's an apples to orange comparison. You have to look at cost of living. You have to look at really kind of the functionality of the police department. Washington, D.C. Police Department is very unique. We are the sheriffs. We are the state troopers. We are the city police. We are like all those things. And in other jurisdictions, it's not the same. If you go across to Prince George's County, you have Prince George's County Police, you have Prince George's County Corrections, you have Prince George's County Sheriffs, and there's a difference there. But for the comparison that they recently did, Commissioner, the DC department, we're down probably number 8 or number 9, somewhere in that list, but they're on the bottom half of the list. I think Baltimore just negotiated something recently, and Baltimore recently just passed Washington, D.C. That's kind of another whole conversation that will probably take the rest of this meeting to talk about. But it's a lot that's really kind of packed into that.
Well, maybe it's a good idea to give that bonus.
The interesting thing even about that, right? So the interesting thing about it, when we talk about hiring and retention, the bonus that they were talking about, the hiring bonus, the people who got 15 years on, they don't get that. That's not for them. You know what I mean? That's only for the people, to attract the new people in.
Right.
So when we talk about the balance, it's really kind of making sure that you got something for this group and you got something for this group of people who are exiting out the door when they have the ability to.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Chief Conte, I just want to follow up and say good luck with your argument, but the argument you're making about the police department in terms of a comparison, that's the same one we've been making all the time about affordable housing and the AMI and
That's
all
right.
of that. And how
That's true.
Hey, Commissioner, I appreciate that. And my responsibility is to make sure that I just put it on record, right? Because just like now, 2 years of not hiring, and we're in this deficit of police officers, everybody's kind of looking around. We've been talking about this for years. Like, hey, when Chief Lanier was here, she said, if we go below 3,700 police officers in this city with everything that we have going on, when you have population increase in our city, when you're talking about building new buildings, you got cranes going up all over the place, but you're talking about decreasing the number of police officers, that does not make sense to me. I've only been doing this for 33 years, but it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna keep making the argument, sir. And if that's the last thing I do before I leave here, trust me, I'm gonna keep on making it, Commissioner. But
well, you have our support on this.
You sure do.
Anything that we can do to help you, let us know.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Commissioner Fletcher has the floor now.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Edwards, and good evening, Chief Conte. How you doing? Thank you for being here.
Sir. I'm doing well, sir.
Good. Just so my question or my comment / questions around community policing, the Orange Hat Patrol. I go around, I think you and I have had this discussion once or twice previously, and I go around the neighborhood, the community, especially a lot of older residents, long-term DC natives, talk about wanting to see a modernized version of the Orange Hat Patrol. Community policing where your agency, your department, OAG, DDOT, other agencies with community members, ANCs, we all go around the neighborhood and help our neighborhoods become safer together. Is that something that we could really work towards seeing MPD and the mayor's office support with funding? Because I believe that there's a space for that, taking something that was done previously, bringing it forward now in a modern form. Question / comment around that.
Yeah, I think that, anytime we can do anything that engages community, that engages law enforcement, that engages other partners within government to make communities safer, I'm all for that, Commissioner. And I think that in this space, and you guys may have heard me say, people respond differently depending on their proximity to the pain. And when the issues are in your community where you live, there's an appetite to do those kinds of things. And that's not every community, right? I got to tell you, that's not every community. Every community don't want to put on an orange hat, walk out, they only want to see the police when there's something wrong. Other communities have a different, approach. And I think that we have to remain flexible in that space, but also supportive, like flexible from the standpoint that we don't force anything on a community that a community doesn't want, but for a community who wants to engage in that space, that we are flexible enough to do those things, to do those community walks, to identify those issues that are in the community, have them be partners with us in the spaces where, there are concerns for community members, so that there is a concerted effort focused on those things. We recently did a community walk over in Ward 5, over in the Ivy City community last week, I think it was, that really, it was with some of the commissioners over there and so forth. There were no formal orange hats that were there, but I think there were a lot of concerned community members who had an opportunity to engage government, to engage all the law enforcement apparatus, all of those pieces that were there to make those communities safer. There were a lot of things that came out of that. Here's some follow-up things. We have report backs to them on, hey, look, we did A, B, C, and D. So if I'm hearing you correctly, sir, there's plenty of space for that. But I think that it's not a cookie cutter approach. I think that it's a flexible every customized approach to every community based upon what the community wants to do.
No, I agree, and I understand that response. And with that being said, here in 5A, as a commission, we have agreed to support some form of community policing Orange Hat Patrol. So that's something that I want you to know. And I would like to, with the support always of all of our commissioners here at ANC 5A and our chairman, we would like to, maybe talk about putting together a community walk, especially in areas where, I'm not sure if you heard, you're probably aware what happened in Commissioner Washington's single member district recently, where there was two killings, two shootings. And so I believe it would be, I think for community members, it'll be good for residents to see MPD, other agencies walking around ANC 5A sometime within the next 4 to 6, 8 weeks, where we can just go and kind of shed a light on some of the issues and hear from community members that do want to participate. Because I do agree, some may not want to.
Hey, I would just say if that could be coordinated through Nokomis, I'm sure he would be happy to get that set up. It's quite honestly, that is not a heavy lift at all. If we get a date, time, location, and where we're going to meet, the direction that we're going to walk, if there are issues of concern that we can address before we get there to that date, I'm all in for that, Commissioner. That's not a problem, sir.
Okay, so that'll be great. So I want to set the stage for that. Our Chairman Edwards, I want to make sure I always go through you, make sure I follow protocol, but I think that's something, because typically, just so you know, Chief Conti, we do a yearly public safety meeting before summer really goes into full form, just so community members know, hey, we're here, we want to support, we want to help make the community safer. So I'll work with our chairman. I'll talk with Nokomis about planning a community walk within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Fair enough, sir. Commissioner,
Right,
can I address, there's one question in the chat about the federal law enforcement officers, and I don't know if this is the last question. Sir, certainly I'm on your time, sir, but if I have time, I can address that question.
Okay,
Go right ahead.
You'll have time. One thing I wanted to do was kind of follow up on the conversation that Commissioner Flicky just had, and to talk about the Orange Hat patrols and all that kind of stuff. And I think he was kind of asking, in terms of, we know that you all are supportive of, say, the walks, and if we want to reach out to the police department, get walks. But what we envision, I think in 5A was a organization that was kind of, or a structure that kind of existed ongoing in the community. They had vests, they had the orange vests or something like that. They had telephone communications, walkie-talkies, and the police department back in the old days kind of helped the communities in terms of getting equipment like that so that they could be safe and be able to communicate with each other while they were doing the walks. Is that something that could be a part of something that you work out?
So I would say that we would be willing to participate as an agency in that. In my experience, just citywide, and again, this is why I say every community is different. Some communities don't like the whole wearing of the orange vest, and they're like, "Hey, look, the police go home. We live here. We got to remain here. We're gonna leave the police to you guys." And I respect that, right? I absolutely 120% respect that. So to the extent that what I would like to see, if it's possible, for that to be really kind of something that the community leans forward on with the support of the Metropolitan Police Department, right? I mean, the neighbors who are involved, you have Samantha Nolan who works out of, Samantha, she's a Chevy Chase resident, but she goes all around the city and talk about neighborhood watch, all of that kind of stuff, organizing, block captains and that kind of thing. And I'm certainly all in favor of that. But community members, in terms of calling up those neighbors and making sure that it's not just going to be one person out walking with the police, that we got a nice group of concerned community members who are willing to walk and talk with the police officers in the community, and not just for one thing where we're identifying issues, but this is kind of a routine thing. There's some communities who do it well. There's some communities that only do it every now and again. And there's some communities that only do it when there's an issue that happens. They want to kind of do a community walk. So I would say, Commissioner, in that space, I'm willing to support 100% on that. I promise you that anytime and every time we have a walk, that police officers will be there side by side with community members. But the organization part of that, that's something that we would certainly have to partner on to make sure that we have, buy-in from everybody and everybody got skin in the game there.
Thank you. I don't see any more hands. It looked like
there was a question in the chat about the federal law enforcement agencies.
Yes, go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, let me just address that really quickly. I appreciate our federal partners in Washington, D.C. Yes, this is a city unlike any other in the country, quite honestly, in terms of the way that we do business. And, I know you drive around and you see these other police agencies, but the reality is when you call 911, you get one response from the Metropolitan Police Department. When you look at the things that happened in our city on January the 6th, the expectation, even though that was federal property, the expectation was that the Metropolitan Police Department show up and do their job. And for any and everything that happens in our city, the brunt of it falls on the shoulders of the Metropolitan Police Department. The President of the United States does not move anywhere in this city without the Metropolitan Police Department. Foreign dignitaries coming to our city. They just announced Pharrell is coming to DC to do his something in the water, big thing on Constitution Ave, on Independence Avenue. That cannot happen without the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department. The federal resources, that is a limited pool of people, and their focus is their individual areas of responsibility. What I have been able to get them to do is really to leverage the partnerships that we have with them. Like, for example, on the scene of the sniper incident that we were recently dealing with, there were Capitol police officers that were there for that type of event. But on a normal, just let's patrol community, let's go over here because we have this issue, there's not that level of commitment. There's not that level of skin in the game from most of our federal partners, right? Because the Secret Service has their role. Federal Protective Service, they're worried about their buildings. The Mint Police, they're worried about the Mint. It's not that they're worried about Taylor Street. You know what I mean? That falls on the shoulders of MPD. So I say all of that really to just kind of make sure that we take things in context. When we think about all of these officers, that are roaming around DC, when you pick up the phone, call 911, I promise you, it's only you're going to get MPD, and we have to make sure that we have a police department that is staffed appropriately to deal with the complexities that we see in our city. And the last thing, I'll end on this note, Commissioner. Someone mentioned in the chat about having a firm message from MPD, from the top down, respect to constitutional rights, the DC. That is something that's part of the fabric of this agency that we talk about every single solitary day, from our recruitment to the priorities for our police agency is something that I'm talking about constantly. If there's another way for me to do it, to send a smoke signal, I certainly will. But that is something I want to make sure that every police officer understands the privilege that they have. I'll be talking to a graduating class of recruit officers on this coming Friday. And that's one of the things that's in every message for every class that graduates. When we talk about respecting the constitutional rights of people that are in our city, you have a great police department in this city. Can we get better? Are there things that we can do better? Absolutely, there are things that we can do better. And every day we're striving to do those things better. So I appreciate the feedback from community members. I appreciate the commitment and the support from community members. The reality of all of this stuff is that our city is safer when we all are working together. So thank you, 5A, for what you guys are doing in your space to make our city safer. The support that I'm hearing, what we're talking about doing, community walks, et cetera, all those kinds of things. Those things, the safest neighborhoods in our city, believe you me when I tell you, the safest neighborhoods in our city are those where we are working together.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. I had a couple
Yes,
more
sir.
questions, and I'll save them for later. You have really been outstanding this evening in terms of responsiveness to our questions and helping us to better understand the complicated situation that you're dealing with in terms of the police department. But you can best believe that ANC 5A fully supports the work of the police department, and we look forward to continuing to work with you guys to make the city a safer place to live. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner. You guys have a great evening.
Okay, you too.
Thank you, Chief Conti.
All right. We are moving right along now, and Eduardo Perdomo from the mayor's office. He's not coming.
No, Conti was here and said, and so Chairman Edwards, from Councilmember McDuffie's office, I believe we have somebody new on the call. I think Laisha Doherty, correct?
Yes. 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 Okay, and it looks like that's where we are.
Awesome. All right. So good evening, everyone, commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Laisha Doherty, and I'm the Chief of Staff for Councilmember McDuffie. And so I just want to kind of provide a couple of updates regarding the council's budget. So today, the City Council had their budget working session, which is when all of the council members who have committees bring up their highlights from the committees and gives the other council members an opportunity to ask questions. And so that was an all-day thing, literally from 9 a.m. to probably about 6:30 is when they concluded. And so, as you all know, Councilmember McDuffie does chair the Committee on Business and Economic Development. And his goal is to obviously create racial equity amongst small business owners and also, diverse opportunities. So he did propose a lot of allocation money for those type of efforts. So for example, money towards organizations that support Latino small businesses and money for organizations that support Black and other minority owned businesses. And so the council will vote on the first budget vote will be on May 10th, and the second one will be on May 24th. And once the May 24th vote happens, then it goes to the mayor, and then I think it's official of what the FY23 budget will be. So we have really been in the thick of things with budget. So we, other than that, constituent services is always a priority for us. And so I will, stop speaking right now and ask if you all have any questions for me.
Yeah. So thank you. And again, nice seeing you. So following up on the conversation that we had with Chief Conti, and the $6 million, are you familiar with that area of the budget and can you shed any light on the council's position with regard to the $6 million?
What for the police? Is that the one?
For the police department. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't have or I don't have a lot of background on that. I know about the proposal, but unfortunately I have not had a chance to really get the council members' point of view on that. I know our major focus has been really promoting the Committee on Business and Economic and Development budget, because those are the agencies that we have. So we really have to write that budget first before we can consider other committees' budgets.
I got you. Yeah, but public safety, I think, ought to be on the top of y'all's mind, especially when they're talking about issues involving the police department. But I understand you may not be prepared to discuss that particular issue with me this evening. But
absolutely. And I also just want to kind of like caveat that, you know, everything that's in the budget right now is proposed. Nothing has been approved as of yet. So I think, you know, it creates more comfort once it's been approved, and I could say like, these are the wins and this is what's being done, this is the impacts. Like I said, everything is being proposed. The mayor transmitted the budget to the council. The council had all of the committees had their hearing and their markups for the budget, and the committee of the whole had their full council hearing today. And so things can change. So it could be $6 million, it could be less, it could be more. So we don't really know where that's going to be at this time.
thank you. I don't see any hands raised. Anybody have any questions for her? If not, we can go to Nokomis, and then maybe you'll thought of your questions by then, and then you can ask them. Nokomis, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. I just want to inform you guys of the that the mayor has announced that homeless has been down 47% since the implementation of the Homeward DC. And for those to enlighten some of you on the Homeward DC is a bold is an initiative from the mayor, which is a bold vision and strategy plan to end long-term homelessness in Washington, D.C. So since its initial release, the district has made significant progress and investment in sustainable solutions to reduce homelessness, especially with regard to family homelessness, using a comprehensive approach. So the district scale homelessness prevention service for family and reform the family shelter system. And also they began to launch a small service enriched short-term family housing program throughout the city, and expanded rental subsidized for family. Also keep in mind that, you know, DHS is also working with, you know, landlords and homeowners to also, you know, house you know, the families that are homeless as well. Moving forward, the last week the mayor and Director Lindy Harper of the building block, they had announced that there is nearly 590,000 in grant awarded to nonprofit organizations as part of the building block DC grant program. So the funding will support the mayor administration effort to prevent gun violence throughout the innovative programming and activity that future skill building and family connectivity and empowerment. To name a organization that, you know, will be providing for our award, that organization name is Costa DC. And they have been given $100,000 to provide direct assistance to primary and secondary youth survivors of gun violence here in Ward 5, 7, and 8 through community-based mentorship, skill workshop, and therapeutic support. Of course, there's other entities that have been awarded a grant as well, and they are stationed in Ward 7 and 8. And that would be, yeah, that would be the last my updates right now. So I'm gonna leave the floor open to any questions or concerns that you guys have.
Thank you, Nokomis. As always, nice to see you. Commissioner Washington has her hand up, and Yachina Evans.
Yeah, my hand is up because I'm concerned about this Homeward DC homeless initiative that's placing individuals into homes. My biggest concern is because I'm experiencing that in my community, how developers or individuals buy these apartment buildings, renovate them, and then rent to individuals that are on vouchers, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that, but they don't notify the communities that they're doing so, which creates a small public housing within a community. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I was on a meeting, have had 2 meetings with Kelly regarding this situation in my single member district and having DHS on. And I don't know who the director is of DHS, but DHS is not doing their job. They're not monitoring these individuals. They're not giving them the type of services that they should have. It just seems like it's a lot of paperwork movement and everything is contracted out. So it doesn't give me as a commissioner or the residents in my single member district the opportunity to know what's coming into the community so that we can work together, welcome them into the community, and possibly assist the management of those apartment buildings with making sure they get the right assistance that they're supposed to get. Because to me, if you're not, that's what led to the 2 homicides that happened in my single member district in those locations. So what, I know you're saying the mayor is doing all this and this is down 47%, but is she really honing in on what these agency directors are doing and what the staff is actually providing? And it's just a big issue for me right now because it seems like that it's a big rush to get everybody into housing, but nobody is providing the services that these individuals need in order to function and to be able to get what they need, their services that they need to move forward in those environments.
Okay. I know I spoke with Ramona Thomas earlier today. She said that they have recently did like a canvas through with those 2 apartments where the shooting recently occurred on North Capitol.
Yeah, I'm in the meetings. Ramona's in the meetings with me. Let me just say that. I mean, this situation is above Ramona. It's above that. I mean, for me, and I've told Kelly that. It's got to go beyond that because I keep getting the company line. We're doing this, we're doing that. I mean, they have to call us. Why do they have to call you? We can't push them to do this, but you're giving them assistance. It's got to be something tied to you're getting this assistance from us, but you're not doing anything but just continue to live and not be a part and try to better yourselves. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying with Ramona. This is a big issue for me, but this is above Ramona. It's much more above Ramona. It's at the director level, and nobody wants me to go to the director. I told Kelly that for me, I'm reaching down for the director because the director has to know what's going on. Because if I'm experiencing it, I'm sure there's other people throughout the city that's experiencing the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think what she's talking about is like housing providing some holistic type of service when you you are dealing with these kinds of situations and not just drop situations off in neighborhoods without any notification and then no follow-up whatsoever with regard to the people who we are supposed to be taking care of. And her main point is that we really want to provide people safe and secure housing and everything, but they have to be held accountable, or they should be held accountable in terms of the resources that we're getting. And it sounds like she's saying that they're not being held accountable. Yachina.
Hi, good evening, Nokomis. And actually, my comment was related to what Commissioner Washington was talking about, since you highlighted the supposed drop in homelessness based on the point in time count. And I know that this has been a concern raised during the hearings, which is the reliance on the rapid rehousing program. And I don't know if you're prepared to speak about that, but it does seem like there need to be some fundamental improvements to that program because yes, people are so-called being rapidly rehoused. But again, just as Commissioner Washington said, that needs to come with a whole host of services. And I know that on paper, it does, but in practice, I'm just not sure about that. And we know that for individuals and families that have a lot of barriers and challenges, providing subsidized housing for a short amount of time, say 12 months, it's like totally unrealistic to expect them to then be able to pay market rate housing after 12 months. And I just don't understand what seems to me sort of an over-reliance on this program so that, you know, the administration can then say, oh, we've moved people into housing, but they're just going to keep cycling through homelessness. You understand what I'm saying? Without like strong, adequate supports and without this completely unrealistic expectation that they should be able to then support themselves with to pay market rate housing after 12 months.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Commissioner Fletcher, was he following up? I'm sorry. Did you want to respond?
I just want to say, you know, I agree with you, and you know, speaking from a resident perspective, you know, I do think someone that is, that is basically entering into a job field, and you know, that actually getting themselves together into a home, that a person may gonna need more than 12 months to actually, get themselves together. So, it can be unrealistic to a lot of people that just actually just starting from the ground up. So that is that is another concern that I'm going to highlight to DHS as well.
Okay, Commissioner Fletcher, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Edwards. Nokomis, how you doing? Thank you for always being here. Just a quick question. There was on Farragut Place Northeast in my single member district, there was repavement going on in the alleyway. And I'm sorry that DDOT is not here right now, but this repavement really disrupted a lot of the residents in the neighborhood. They reached out to me saying that they did not have any notice about this from DDOT prior to. Okay, so I said to the residents that I was going to at least make someone aware of this tonight at the ANC meeting. So I just want to reach out to you publicly and let you know. I'm gonna send you more information, let you know the exact resident's name. I don't want to just put that person's name out here in public, but I do know that this is a recurring situation that we just got to really get a handle on in terms of providing notice to residents about renovations, development, anything like that that's going to disrupt somebody's use and enjoyment of their property.
Okay, and what unit block is that?
Farragut, I'm going to get you the unit block. I'll text it to you. All
right.
Within the next 5 minutes, I'll text it to you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Robert, you got the floor.
Yeah, in the comments, I just want to tell you that I agree with Sandy in that the DC government does a horrible job with the people that it supports. I have a situation, and this is true. An individual that I know housed somebody, and what happened was the person had told the landlord that, hey, look, your people are coming to my place too much. And so he listened to her and basically took the keys from his people. This lady in turn started breaking out windows, screwed up the plumbing, and then called the city and said, hey, look, this guy's a slumlord. Okay, so they took her word, lock, stock, and barrel, didn't ask him a thing, and looking at him as if he had a problem. Then she went further and called the cops and saying the guy was a drug dealer and that he had prostitutes inside the building. Again, the city took her word for everything and lock, stock, and barrel. Now, to add insult to injury, he finally got her into court. He won his case. Everything she said was false. But, however, he was out thousands of dollars because he hadn't paid rent for over a year. And the courts decided, well, hey, you own this building. You can absorb that cost. You're not getting anything back from this lady. She doesn't have anything. She's a poor senior. Well, to add insult to injury, she finally dies. He's scared to go up in there because he doesn't want to be blamed for whatever. And they finally get the door open, get in there and see her. The cops go through her material and turns out that she has several false IDs. The point of this whole story is that DC is too pro-tenant to the expense of not listening to the landlord. Everybody's so quick to judge the homeowner that they don't even take a look at the person who is in there. And the fact that this lady was a professional grifter, she had fooled 3 city agencies. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. You have a lot of people, and I'll make this real quick, who are, on 8A or what have you, who are good people. You have those who are horrible people, and you complain about them, and the city does nothing. So that is the problem. That's one of the reasons why nobody wants an 8A tenant, because of that. It's so random. It's like playing a Russian roulette. You hope the bullet doesn't go off. You hope you don't get the bad one. So I think the city really needs to, from the director down, revamp their programs and actually make them work. And that's the end of my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver. I didn't see any other hands, Nicomas. Do you have anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yes, I do like to, inform you guys that I'm gonna be working with Carmen, the president of the North Michigan Park City Association, and basically brainstorming an event for the community for this summer. So I know a lot of agencies scheduled about it before. So I want to really try to get something put in schedule so we can get the ball rolling. And I do have a come and walk with Commissioner Sandy Washington and her FMD soon as well too. So if you guys do have anything in mind that you'd like to bring to your FMD or the community as a whole or anything like that, any community event that we can put together, please feel free to let me know.
Thank you, Nicomas. You always support us. Laisha, did you have anything you wanted to say? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Actually, I failed to mention that tomorrow is another or is the second round of public witnesses for redistricting. I know some of you all have been working on redistricting and have served tremendous amount of time and support towards the Ward 5 task force. So Councilmember Silverman is hosting a public witness round 2 hearing. I think the sign off or the opportunity to sign up for the deadline has already surpassed us. However, I still invite you to participate by listening, and then you can also send written testimony up until the vote on redistricting. So just wanted to add that to my announcements, and I think that's everything.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Washington, you got your hand up.
Yeah, Nicomas.
Yeah.
Is he there? Hey, yeah. We're doing a walk on May 12th, but if I'd like to do a block event. So I'm gonna reach out to you because I've had several of my residents that have come to me about that. We were trying to do something in the park. I think I have to go through park services in order to have it there. But then they came up with the idea of maybe having it in the block. So I'll reach out to you tomorrow and we can talk about it, okay?
Okay.
Great, thanks.
All right, this has really been a lengthy agenda. And I just looked down here and noticed that we have DC Public Charter School Board still on the agenda.
I don't believe they're on the call, Chairman Edwards. I did ask in the chat if they were on the call and no one responded. So they had requested time about a month ago and I responded to them and put them on the agenda, but I don't see them on the call.
Okay, so I think we're closer to the end than I thought then. All right. So it looks like we've taken care of all of the business that was on the agenda. Any community concerns, any follow-up questions, anything got going on? See, I like this. We're going to give Commissioner Lucio a chance to get out of here early for her birthday. So that
I have a question.
I
couldn't find the hand, but I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to know if there's any feedback on the rezoning issue that came up at the last meeting, where the guy wanted to do, the developer wants to change the zoning around McDonald's and the shopping center.
Mr. Smith, this is Commissioner Lucio, and that's in my single member district, and we are having a special meeting on that. If you want to email me, I can give you the information on that.
Thank you very much. I'll do that.
All right. Nothing further. Let's see. Seeing nothing. This meeting is. Let me see. I had one other thing I thought I wanted to talk
Chairman
about.
Edwards, let me, if while you're looking for that, I will just say that I do have a single member district meeting coming up on Thursday, May 5th. That's a week from tomorrow. And as I said, McDonald's is on the agenda for that, as well as a couple other things. So hopefully, if anybody from my single member district 5A03 is on this call, please feel free to email me and I will give you the meeting information.
And also, before you speak, Chairman Edwards, I'm going to have, I have weekly meetings with Wesley Housing on the relocation of the individuals that are living at 1 Hawaii Avenue. And I'm going to have asked that, and I just sent a text to Commissioner Lucio, would like to put them on the agenda for our May meeting so they can come out and talk about the progress. But in the interim, I am helping them relocate those individuals that are in the at 1 Hawaii into some of the apartments in the area, and the Modern and I think it's the Modern, Brooklyn Ridge, and some new apartments on Monroe have all been looked at for them to move in, and they are working with getting contracts for those individuals because they have to be out of the building by July 1st because they're going to break ground, tear down the building in July. So I am meeting with them on a weekly basis.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
I'm trying to get, who is that? Commissioner Holloway, you have the floor.
Commissioner Holloway. I just wanted to reach out to and just listen to Commissioner Washington. I think she said something about Brooklyn Ridge. We do have somebody in place at Horning Brothers that's working with us that I use some of them for the Hawaii Avenue project, that they were giving some of the seniors and some of the residents a discount rate to come in because they had a lot of group homes up there that's on Taylor Street, that moved on, and a lot of those places were open. So if we can get together and reach out, I can give you the contact person for that. That's for Commissioner Washington.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Commissioner Holloway, that Wesley has already had their housing specialist to reach out to someone there. I'm just working on the end of making sure that the individuals get to the locations they want to. But if they come up with anything that they need any help with, I will definitely reach out to you. Okay?
Okay, no problem.
Correct.
Mr. Oliver, I received an email regarding the library naming. I knew it was something that I want to talk to you about. And they're having a meeting on Thursday, the 28th at 6:30. Is there any updates or anything with that regard that you want to give us tonight?
Yeah, well, it's not exactly the library naming, it is the space naming. As you recall, they had the big issue with the naming of the auditorium and Jeff Bezos. They want to sit down with the community and make sure they come up with a very transparent policy. And that's what this is all about. So that's what the meeting on the 28th will cover. Now, in terms of the library itself, the director had closed everything off, I believe, on the 8th of this month, and he has made his recommendation, which he has sent forward to the trustees, and they will make the official announcement. I believe, I'll have to get you the date, but I believe it's well, I'll not guess. I will send everybody an email. But the point being is that they're close to the vest about this. They're going to keep it, their opinion secret for as long as possible. But I want to say that whoever's picked, we're going to have a great candidate. So I will say that. But that's it for me.
I'm praying for that. I'm praying for that.
All right. The other thing I just wanted to take a minute, and we don't need to take any action on it or anything. For those commissioners, I did receive an email concerning, the upcoming cycle for new commissioners, all in light of redistricting and everything. And there are some people who have concerns about the number of signatures, which is 25, which is only 25. I'm not sure why people have concerns, but they have concerns about being able to get those during this time now and so forth. And they sent a resolution to us asking us to support it. I just want to put it on the floor because it does affect each of us. You're going to have to run for re-election, and you're going to have to get those 25 signatures. There's a group saying that's too many. I guess I'm kind of agnostic about it because 25 signatures shouldn't be that hard. It seems like to me.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, 25 signatures, come on.
Yeah, I agree. There's a bunch of other ANC commissioners on other calls I've had who some have been proposing less. I am also in support of 25. That's not that many.
That's not, 25 is not bad.
All right, so we're not supporting the resolution that was sent. All right, and
out of curiosity, what was the number that they were in the resolution?
They was trying to get it down to 10, I believe.
Please.
I thought it was 15, but anyway.
25 is not a lot.
25 is not a lot.
No,
it's not.
No, I mean, if you've got 2,000 residents,
you shouldn't even have to do it.
Yeah,
thank you, Commissioner Holloway. You're right.
Yeah, if you've got 2,000 residents in your commission and you can't get 25 signatures, there's a problem.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that's wanted to make sure we had see what the sentiment was in those regards. But other than that, I'm finished. And Commissioner Lucio, I'll go have my drink for you.
Thank you, Chairman Edwards. I'm going to go have a couple drinks with some friends.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Enjoy. Yeah, enjoy. Before you hang up, Commissioner Edwards and Commissioner Lucio, I need signatures by Friday.
Just text me and we'll get them.
Okay.
I need signatures by Friday. I have got to get it in. Yeah.
And Commissioner Washington, I just sent you the document you need, so maybe when I come do the signature, you can hand me that other check.
No problem. You said in my email, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool. All right. Great.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Commissioner Holloway.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good one.